Good evening, sir.
Hello.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good afternoon.
How are you, sir?
I'm fine, sir. Fine.
Shadma ma'am, are you listening me?
Yes, sir. Very well.
Okay, ma'am. मैम रिकॉर्डिंग वाला देख लीजिएगा एक बार.
Started, sir. Started.
Okay, thank you, मैम. और इनको अपना भी इंट्रोड्यूस अपने आप से भी करा दीजिएगा. सॉरी मैं नहीं ज्वाइन कर पाया, है ना.
A very good afternoon, everybody. I am Dr. Shadma Absar, and on behalf of Indian teacher education community, I welcome you all to this program today. And I also welcome our resource person, Professor S.K. Tyagi, sir. And I request him to please start the session. Over to you, sir.
Okay, madam. Thank you. So welcome to all the participants. Today we will be discussing the second part of session on chi-square test. So I'm going to the presentation directly. Chi-square test part 2, and it is confined to cross tabulation with degree of freedom greater than 1. Yesterday we discussed two parts or two legs of this chi-square test. One was one sample chi-square test or one-way chi-square test. The second one was a cross tabulation, but just 2x2 cross tabulation. 2x2 cross tabulation has 1 degree of freedom. Today we will be taking up cross tabulations with degree of freedom greater than 1, means number of rows or number of columns or both will be greater than 2 or 3. So 3x2, 3x3, 3x4, 4x3, and so on. These are cross tabulations with a degree of freedom greater than 1. So this is today's topic. I come to presentation agenda. What are the points which will be covered? One is research situation, objective and null hypothesis. Second, conducting chi-square test in SPSS and interpretation. We will take up an example with a non-significant chi-square test value, then an example with a significant test value. Because when chi-square value is significant, then we will have to further probe and find out where are the differences. That is known as residual analysis. Yesterday I introduced the topic. Then therefore we will be doing residual analysis. And here comes another concept, and that is adjusted standardized residuals. Yesterday we came across residual and standardized residual. Today we are introducing one more allied concept, is adjusted standardized residual, ASR. So we will study what is this ASR and how it is calculated and how it is interpreted. Then there is another problem which I did not touch yesterday, but today I'll be touching, and this is control of alpha inflation. We will see what is alpha inflation and how alpha inflation is controlled. Then effect size for cross tabulation chi-square. greater than degree of freedom greater than 1, and case of violation of assumption, and this is interpreting likelihood ratio. Yesterday we used binomial test and Fisher exact probability test, but this time we will be using likelihood ratio. Now, first point, research objective and null hypothesis. So let us see the research objective and research hypothesis we studied yesterday also. It is same hypothesis of independence of attributes. Only difference is that this time we have these two attributes. Earlier, yesterday, they were two that was 2 by 2 cross tabulation. So this attribute was also binary, and this attribute was also binary. Today, it is not necessarily binary. It may have 3 categories, 4 categories, and so on. Now, this is a situation appropriate for this kind of cross tabulation. Situation is a researcher wishes to test whether the examination result, and examination result has 4 categories. One is distinction, then first class, second class, third class, are independent of the affiliation board of students, CBSE, State Board, and ICSE. These are the 3 boards for secondary students. And we very often hear that this particular, hello, any question? No. So we very often hear that a particular board is quite liberal in awarding divisions to the students. Many of the students, they are getting 100 out of 100. Many of the students are getting distinction, whereas a particular board, a state board or some other board, they are not so liberal. So we want to test whether the award of distinction, first class, second class, and third class, are they independent of the board? Are they in proportion of the sample? So this is a situation. This is a situation for cross tabulation with degree of freedom greater than 1. Now, for this, we will collect data from a sample of students, and the data will be arranged into 3 into 4 contingency table. 3 number of rows is 3 because there are 3 boards, and number of columns are 4 because there are 4 kind of results. Now, research objective. There is nothing new in this. We have seen it, to study the independence or interdependence of exam result of a student and the affiliation board of their school. And null hypothesis, the examination result of students are independent of the affiliation board of their schools. So I have mentioned one situation which is appropriate for cross tabulation with degree of freedom greater than 1. I have stated as to how the research objective will be framed and how null hypothesis will be formulated. Now we come to the assumptions. Assumptions are almost same: random sample, independent observation, and minimum frequency threshold. And in contingency table, bigger than 2 by 2, we will have degree of freedom greater than 1. If we have a 3 by 4 contingency table, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2. Pardon?
Sir, somebody's mic was unmuted. I have muted.
That is the problem. That is the problem with this kind of board. Where all
Yes,
the
sir.
participants are requested with folded hands to keep their mics off, and whenever they want to speak, only then they must keep their mic on.
Yes, sir.
So this is three rows, and 4 columns situation. Okay, so degree of freedom in this case is 3 minus 1 multiplied by 4 minus 1. That is 2 multiplied by 3 is equal to 6. So degree of freedom is greater than 1. Okay, so in contingency table bigger than 2 by 2, some of the cell may have expected frequency fewer than 5. Some of the cells may have expected frequency fewer than 5, but such cell will not exceed 20% of the total cell. So total cell in this particular case is 12. 3 into 4 is equal to 12. Now let us see what is 20%. 20% of 12 is 2.4. So roughly two of these, any two of these may have FE less than 5, but not more than 2. If more than 2 cells have expected frequency less than 5, then this assumption is violated. This is violated. Then we use likelihood ratio in such situation. If the assumption is not met, interpret likelihood ratio instead of chi-square test. The output of the chi-square test also includes likelihood ratio.
I request participants to please keep their mic muted.
Now we come to the first example of cross-tabulation chi-square test, and first we will be taking up a non-significant test value. Okay, so that we do not need residual analysis. So this is example board-wise class 10th examination results from a random sample of 300 students. See, look at this table. CBSE board, our total sample size is 300. But all these three, CBSE, MP board, ICSE, all these three samples, they are not of equal size. Okay. CBSE students are half of the total sample. MP board students are 1/3 of the total sample, and ICSE board are 1/6 of the total sample. Okay, they need not be equal, all these three board students. So there are 150 students in all which belong to CBSE board. Out of these 150, 35 got distinction, 30 first division, 40 second division, 45 third division. Similarly, 100, okay, 15, 15, 35, 35, ICSE 10, 15, 15, 10. Total distinction order 60, total first class 60, total second class 90, total third class 90. So this is the data. So let us see how to calculate the expected frequency, and then we will do it using SPSS. This is board-wise 10th examination result of a random sample assuming null hypothesis. See, the reasoning is quite simple. Suppose all these three samples were equal, 100, 100, 100. Okay, so CBSE students in all are 100. Yes, supposing they are 100, okay, they are also 100. So all three are equal. So because there are 60 distinctions in all, then we expect how many distinctions? Because the sample size is equal, so it will be 20, 20, 20. So this is 1/3. 100 out of 300 is 1/3 sample. The proportion is 1/3. Therefore, the proportion in first division will also be 1/3 each. But this is a bit difficult situation, a bit difficult. Here the sample size is not equal, but we know what is the ratio. Ratio is, this is half of 300. Okay, so out of 60, here we expect half, that is 75 or 30. Half of 60. 60 are distinction. Okay, if there is no relationship between board and result, then the ratio which is there will be preserved here. So the expected frequency here will be 30. This is 1/3. 100, 100 divided by 300 is 1/3. So what is 1/3 of 60? 20. This is 1/6. So what is 1/6? 10. And the total will be 60. Similarly, here also it will be 30, 20, 60, 10. But here, this is half of this. Now simple formula is 150 divided by 300 into 90. Yeah. 3 3 9, 15 3 45. Multiply these two. These are called marginal sums. Marginal sums. So we want to find out Fe of this cell. So, hello, Nitin Srivastava. So
I have muted, sir, muted.
expected frequency of, I am muted. Am I muted?
No, sir, no, sir. I have muted the person whose mic was
Oh, okay,
unmuted
okay,
and was
okay.
creating disturbance.
Okay, madam. Now please
Sir,
ignore.
I will do it in between. Do not worry. I will keep muting them in case they get unmuted.
Now you please ignore. Okay. Now 150 is half of 300. Therefore, it will be half of 90, 45. This is 1/3. So 1/3 of 90 is 30. 1/6 is 15. So 45, 30, 15. These will be, this is how these are calculated. Now it is a question of simple question. These are the observed frequencies and these are the expected frequencies. Is there any difference? So what do we do? FO minus FE square divided by FE and take sum. It will be I square. So this is how we compute expected frequencies and then chi-square manually. But in SPSS, as you saw yesterday, let me go to the example and we will get the output of chi-square test. I have entered this data. I yesterday explained how the data is entered in case of contingency table or this cross tabulation. So we have, see, these are CBSE students. Okay, CBSE, 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 CBSE. How many? 150. 150 are CBSE students. Okay. Out of these 150, some will have first division distinction, some will have first division, some will have second division. So out of these 150, these are the students having distinction up to this place. Distinction 35. So CBSE distinction 35. This is one cell. And similarly next, first division, then second division. Now how to calculate chi-square? We go to cross tabulation because cross tabulation chi-square is at different place than one-way chi-square. This is cross tabulation chi-square. So in row, we can have board, but it does not matter if we have exam result in row. It will not make any difference as far as chi-square is concerned. The table will be transposed. Rows will become column, column will become rows. It doesn't make any difference. Board is our row and exam result is our column. Okay. Now, if you want expected frequency, we can have here cell expected. Continue and chi-square statistics chi-square. Continue and okay. So we got the output. We have this table board into exam result cross tabulation. This is observed frequency 35, 30, 40, 45, and this is 15, 15, 35, 35. Okay, and this is chi-square value. So the chi-square value is, the p value is 0.137, which is not less than alpha level of 0.05. Therefore, it is not significant. And you see, 0 cell have expected count less than 5. There is no cell which is having expected frequency less than 5. Therefore, the assumption holds good. Now, all this has been taken to the slides. We come to the slide. Yes, this is our output, which you just now saw, and this is the result of chi-square test. The chi-square value is 9.722, degree of freedom is 6, and two-tailed significance is 0.137. Two-tailed means we cannot say, or we cannot hypothesize whether FO will be greater than FE or FO will be less than FE. If we were in a position to say this, then we could have here tested directional hypothesis and we could have used one-tailed test. But since we cannot say this, therefore we will be using this. Now, this is how we interpret table 3. Gives the observed and expected counts, assuming
Please unmute, sir.
Okay, madam. Table 3 gives you the observed and expected counts, assuming null hypothesis to be true. First of all, we see whether the assumption holds good or not. So the footnote to table 4 states that none of the cell has expected count less than 5, suggesting no violation of the assumption of minimum frequency. So we are safe. Minimum frequency assumption is not violated. Okay, we are safe. Now we can interpret chi-square value. Now chi-square value is not significant. First of all, we make a right decision. Chi-square value is not significant. What I want to say. Okay, because the value of chi-square is this much, degree of freedom 6, and p value is greater than the alpha value. Therefore, the null hypothesis of independence of exam result and affiliation board is not rejected. That is, the exam result is independent of the school affiliation board. So there is no evidence which proves that a particular board is quite liberal in awarding distinction or first division. All the boards they are awarding these different kind of results in equal proportion. So this is the first example of non-significant chi-square value. Now we need not further analyze it. It is the end, finished. Nothing more to be done. Now we take up cross tabulation and this time we will have a significant test value. I have taken the data in such a way that chi-square turns out to be significant. Okay, now example is this one. This is cross tabulation with significant chi-square, and the example is regarding the dietary habits of uh, parents and their children, offsprings. So these are the parents and these are offsprings. So we have taken one parent and one offspring, father and son, or father and daughter, mother or daughter. So parents have been classified into three categories. Herbivorous, I took this herbivorous, carnivorous. We could have vegetarian, non-vegetarian, and both. Omni. So herbivorous, carnivorous, omnivorous, and offsprings, herbivorous, carnivorous, omnivorous. So we have three type of dietary habits of the parents and three type of the dietary habits of the offsprings. My son may not be, I'm vegetarian. My son may be this carnivorous or non-vegetarian or relishing both. Okay. So does this data show any relationship? Is there any pattern? Or these two, the diet of the parent has no relationship with the diet of the offspring? This is the research question. Now, how to enter this data? Okay, now I will be explaining you a different way we can enter the data and a more simple way. Different and a more simple way. Yesterday we had 2x2 cross tabulation, but I did not introduce this deliberately because I wanted to do this today. So how to enter this data in a different way, okay, and in a simpler way. This is, we need not enter all the 134. No, our row will not be 134 because 134 is sample size. So rows in normally would be 134 and columns normally would be two. One is parent diet, other is offspring diet. But this time we are having three columns, three variables. One is parent diet, another is offspring diet, and third is frequency. Okay, so first is herbivorous, 30. Herbivorous, this 30. Herbivorous parent, carnivorous student, 11. Herbivorous parent, omnivorous offspring, 12. Total 53. Total we did not take care of. Now this is herbivorous parent, offspring, 30. Herbivorous, carnivorous, 11. Herbivorous, omnivorous, 12. And so on. This way we enter the data. I will show you how to enter. I have already entered this. Yes. This is column variable 1, parent diet. Okay, we have defined here parent diet 3. 1 is herbivorous, 2 is carnivorous, 3 is omnivorous. Finish. Second, offspring diet, herbivorous, carnivorous, omnivorous, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Third is frequency. You ignore this for the time being, A as R. This is adjusted standardized as well. So what do we do? I type here 1. I type here 1, enter 1, enter 1. So these are three parents: herbivorous, herbivorous. This is among herbivorous. This is herbivorous, carnivorous, omnivorous. Then another three are carnivorous. This is herbivorous, and this is carnivorous. This is omnivorous. Then third one, omnivorous. This is herbivorous, carnivorous, omnivorous. And these are the frequencies 30, 11 taken up from that. So this way we can enter the data. Now, usually in a traditional manner, if we enter data, there would be 134 rows. But here now we have just 9 rows. This is the difference. But we will now use a function known as weight cases. Weight cases. And this is weight cases. Okay. So you select this weight cases. We get a dialog box. First is do not weight cases. But we want to weight cases. Weight case by frequency. This means actually this 1 is 34 means 34 times. 1 2 is 11. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 is 11 times. So you will come up to 134 row simply, and just click OK. So it will automatically weight the cases. Okay. So it has done it. Now go to the data. Here in the right hand side, at the bottom right hand side, you have weight on. This shows that now whatever you do, it will be done using this weight on. So now we repeat the same process. There is no difference. Analyze, descriptive, cross tab. Okay, parent light, row, offspring light, column. Frequency has been taken care of. We need not worry about it. And statistics, chi-square. Continue. Okay. So you get the output of chi-square. Say parent light, herbivorous, carnivorous, omnivorous, offspring light, 30, 11, 12, 8, 19, 7, okay, 14, 10, this is 53, 34, total 134. Okay. And this is the value of the chi-square test, 24.877. Look at the footnote. It says there are no cell having expected frequency less than 5. So assumption is fulfilled. So this way, in a simpler manner, we can enter the data using weight cases. Okay. Now let me come to the presentation. This is the output. Parent died into offspring died cross tabulation. First table, table 7. Okay, this gives you frequency in each of the 9 cells. And these are results of chi-square test. Chi-square test value is this. Degree of freedom is 4, and asymptotic significance is 0.000, because it is less than the alpha level of 0.01. Therefore, it is significant at 0.01 level. And this is assumption testing. So we come to the interpretation. It is clear from table 8A that 0% cell have expected count less than 5. The minimum expected frequency being 10.5. Therefore, the assumption of minimum expected frequency is not violated. So we check the assumption. Then Therefore, we will interpret the chi-square value and not the likelihood ratio. The value of chi-square is 24.877. Degree of freedom is 4. Why 4? Because it is a 3 by 3 cross table. 3 by 3. So 3 minus 1, 3 minus 1, 2 into 2, 4. Therefore, the null hypothesis that diet of offspring is independent of the diet of the parent is rejected. Now, to study the relationship between the two diets, precise relationship. See, overall test is giving you the significant results. Therefore, you have to further probe it to find out what is the kind of relationship between these two. They are not independent, but in what way they are dependent on each other, we do not know. For this, we have to do this residual analysis. Now, for residual analysis, yesterday we saw there is a residual. Residual is FO minus FE. Then there is standardized residual. This is FO minus FE divided by FE under root. And we interpreted this in the manner, this is nothing but Z. If it is greater than 1.96, significant at 0.05, greater than 2.58, significant at 0.01. This is what we did yesterday. Today, we are introducing another residual, kind of residual. It is adjusted standardized residual. And this is used in case of the cross tabulation, 2 by 2, more than 2 by 2. Now, okay, let me tell you how to find out this in SPSS and then how to calculate it, how to understand it manually. We are going to this data once again. And now conducting residual analysis. Now we have checked that chi-square test is giving significant value. That means the overall test says that there is the null hypothesis that there is no relationship, both are independent of each other, is rejected. Okay, now we have to conduct a specific test to find out is there any, where is the difference between FO and FE, in which cell FO is different from FE. There are 9 cells. There is at least one cell in which there will be a significant difference. Otherwise, there would not have been an overall comprehensive significant difference of chi-square. So I am showing you how to calculate this ASR in SPSS, analyze descriptive statistics, cross tabulation. It is there in chi-square. Parents, offsprings, sorry. And cell. If you want expected frequency, it will give you expected frequency, but we do not need it. Okay, because okay, let us have expected also. And this is adjusted standard residual, unstandardized, standardized, adjusted standardized. So this is adjusted standardized. But mind it, we get it only in cross tabulation, not in one way. So in one way, we had to calculate manually. But in this cross tabulation, we have this facility, adjusted standardized residual. This SPSS will compute for you. So we continue and click OK. So this table, this is the table. Here we have 3.4 adjusted residual, minus 1.9, minus 1.8, So one of the ways interpret it like we interpreted Z. This is again Z, sort of Z. So this is significant. This is significant. This is not significant. Not significant. 2.1 is significant at 0.05 level. 3.8, 0.01 level. Not significant. Not significant. Not significant. Significant at 0.01 level. So this is one way of presentation part. Let me come to presentation. We were here, residual analysis, and this is the table which we just saw. This is adjusted residual. Nine. So we are having 9 tests. 9 tests. Okay. And out of these 9, this is significant. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 are significant results. Okay. This one is significant. This is plus. So FO is greater than FE. This is minus. So FO is less than FE. Third significant is this one. This is plus. FO is greater than FE. And plus FO is greater than FE. Okay. So in these 3, we have observed frequency greater than expected. Okay. That is herbivorous parent is herbivorous offspring. There is every chance. More frequently we have carnivorous. If parent is carnivorous, there are chances of the offspring being carnivorous. Okay, but this is the exception. Now let us see. There is another idea which is being introduced, and that is okay. First of all, let me tell you how to calculate this adjusted. What is meaning of it? So adjusted standardized residual. I wanted to change the color of this pen. So, okay. So ASR, adjusted standardized residual, is FO minus FE divided by FE under root. Up to this point, we have, this is standardized residual, but we modify the denominator and we multiply it with 1 minus R upon N into 1 minus C upon N, where R is the row sum, C is the column sum. This, let us take this particular example of one cell. We will see how this comes out to be 3.4. Okay, so the row sum is 53. Column sum is 52. This is column sum. This is row sum. This cell corresponding to this cell, this is first row. The sum, marginal sum is 53, and marginal column sum is 52. So R is 53 and C is 52. So R is 53, C is 52. Now put the values. FO is 30. Okay. 30 and FE is 20 minus 6. So 30 minus 20.6 divided by F is 20.6 multiplied by 1 minus 53 divided by N. N is 134. Is it 134? Yes. Okay. So multiplied by this and 1 minus 52 divided by 134 under root. If you simplify it, so it will take time, otherwise I could have shown it here. So the value will be 3.4. 3.4. So this is how adjusted standardized residual take into consideration the marginal sum also in the denominator. It is a little modification of the standardized residual. Now we come to another problem, and that is control of alpha error inflation due to multiple testing. Now this is a new concept. Okay. Let me use this slide for explaining you. See, we have a 3 by 3 cross tabulation. In 3 by 3 cross tabulation, we have 9 cells. Okay. Now we conduct chi-square test. Suppose chi-square test is not significant. Okay. So nothing, no further analysis is required. Suppose chi-square test is significant. No, then we need to further probe into these 9 cells. No, as to where are the significant differences. Are everywhere significant differences in all the 9 cells, or in just one cell in 8 cells there is no significant difference between F0 and FE. So essentially what we are doing, we have conducted just one test of significance, that was chi-square test. So in this particular case, our alpha error was 0.05 or 5%. But after that, we are conducting 9 tests. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we are conducting 9 post hoc tests, post significance tests. Okay? So in this case, there are chances that some of the null hypotheses will be rejected just because of sampling fluctuation or just because of chance. Therefore, why? Because the alpha error, which is 5% in this one test, single test, in 9 tests, this becomes 9 times, and it becomes 9 into 0.05. That is 0.45, 45%. So error becomes 45%. Error is multiplied by the number of tests you are performing. So one of the way out is to control this error and make it 5%. To control it, to keep it at the level of 5% in each of the tests. And there are 2 ways to do this. One is you get the p-value, you multiply it by 9, okay, and then compare with alpha. You multiplied p-value by 9 and then compare with alpha. This way you can control this alpha error. And second is you divide the alpha by 9 and compare p with alpha divided by 9. These are the 2 ways we can handle it. And normally this one is done, multiply p by 9 and remain alpha unchanged. Do not change alpha, but change this p. Here you change alpha in order to control the error, and P remains same. These two things are same. Now we come to this, how alpha error is controlled. So we will in essence multiply P by so controlling alpha error means multiplying P value by comparison number of tests, 9 in this particular case, multiplying P by 9, and then comparing with alpha. Okay, this is the strategy to control alpha error. Okay, but unfortunately in ASR we do not have P value. P value is not reported. Okay, that is why we were comparing this with a 1.96 and 2.58 critical value of Z. So this P is not reported, P is not mentioned, we do not know P. The first step is to find out P and then multiply it with by 9 and then compare it with alpha. So these are the steps which are taken, and although they look to be difficult, but they are not that difficult. So let us see, what do we do? When multiple hypotheses are tested, alpha error increases. To control alpha error, this is known as Bonferroni adjustment are made in the p-values. The obtained p-values are multiplied by number of tests conducted before comparing them with the alpha level. Do not compare p-value with alpha straight away, but first adjust these p-values. And adjustment means multiplying them by number of tests which we are conducting, 9 in this particular case. Now to get the p-value, how to get p-value? We define, let me tell you how to do, then we will come to this. Otherwise you will not be able to appreciate this. So I come to is how it is done. I go to this data. The first step is we have nine ASR value. 9 ASR values are here. 9 adjusted residual are here. One is 3.4. In case of herbivorous, 3.4. In case of herbivorous, carnivorous, minus 1.9. So all take them to be variables. Okay. And come to this place. Okay. So I entered these as variables, and this is new variable introduced, ASR. I write ASR, okay, and then enter the data. Suppose I write adjusted residual. This is the variable I want to create, and now here I type 3.4, then minus 1.9. These are the values of the adjusted standardized residual. Then minus 1.8, and so on and so on up to this place. We can write all these 9 values. Now next what we do, we create another variable ASR into ASR, okay, and name it chi-square. And this can be done using this transform, compute chi square. Where we are defining chi-square as ASR into, this is into multiplied by ASR. Okay. Okay. So go to data. We have new variable. This is 3.4 multiplied by 3.4 is 11.56. 1.9 multiplied by 1.9 is this much. So we get this chi-square. Now from this we get the p-value. How? Once again we go to transform, compute, and now we calculate p chi-square, or you just add here p chi-square p. Now, how to find out this? For this is functional group. Under functional group, we have significance, and we have significance chi-square. Select this, and this, click at this upward arrow. So this is significant chi-square, and you take this chi-square here with 1 degree of freedom, because there are two quantities FO and FE, so degree of freedom is 1. Okay, you get the p-value. These are the p-values. They have been rounded up to 2 points. Make it to 5 points from here. P-value 2, instead of 2 have 5 or 6. Let us have 6. 6. So this will show up to 6 place, because we want to multiply by 9. We want to be accurate. So now next and last step is, these are the p-values. Say this is ASR. Okay, we wanted its p-value. So these p-values are these. Now we multiply these p-values by 9. And again, for the last time we compute and a new variable, adjusted p. This is adjusted p. And what is the formula for adjusted p? Formula is this multiplied by 9. Multiply these p-values by 9. Okay. So these are the adjusted p-values. Adjusted p, 0.01, 0.52, 0.65, 0.32, 0.00, 0.99, 0.99, 0.99, 0.01. Okay. Now I take this to presentation view. Yeah, now we come to these steps. What did we do? Now we will be in a better position to appreciate. So what we have done, to get p-values, first define a new variable ASR and enter all the values 9 as scores. We have entered all the values as scores. Then compute another variable chi-square as ASR into ASR. Compute corresponding p-value using this function significance chi-square with degree of freedom 1 under the function button. Then compute adjusted p-value by multiplying this p-value by 9. And interpret these adjusted p-values by comparing with the alpha level, either 0.05 or 0.01. So now these are the values. I have taken them here. This is frequency. These were adjusted standardized residual. and we observed that these four were significant. Okay, these four adjusted standardized residuals are significant. But if we make one for any adjustment, then only three are significant. This one which was earlier significant, this turns out to be not significant. Why? Because this is less than or equal to 0.01, less than 0.01. This is less than or equal to 0.01. But this is greater than 0.05. Every other p-value is greater than 0.05. So only these three remain significant. So we are saved of making this particular wrong inference. This would have been a wrong inference if we did not adjust the p-values, or if we did not adjust for alpha inflation. There would have been 4 tests giving significant results. But after making necessary adjustment, we are having just 3 tests giving you significant results. This is the advantage of making Bonferroni adjustment. Whenever there are more than one test, we make adjustments. Now let us see how this will be interpreted. Interpretation is an observation of the adjusted p-value for the 9 cell revealed that only 3 adjusted p-values are less than or equal to 0.01, thus significant at 0.01 level of significance. Each of the remaining p-value being greater than 0.05 is not significant at 0.5 level of significance. The ASR for each of the 3 cells with significant p-values is positive. Now the ASR is positive sign, having positive sign, meaning that observed frequency are greater than the expected frequencies. That means it can be concluded that the diet of the offspring is similar to the diet of the parent. There is more likelihood of the diet of the offspring being same as diet of the parent. Why? Because otherwise the other cells would have been significant. Suppose this were significant, then we could have interpreted that herbivorous parents have carnivorous offsprings. But now the situation is, if parents are herbivorous, offsprings are also herbivorous. So this is how you interpret. So now I come to another example, adjusted values in one-way chi-square. Yesterday we took this, we did this example, we conducted chi-square, one-way chi-square, and this was the data, science, social science, if you remember well, science, social science, humanities, vocational, and others. These were the observed frequencies. Okay, the chi-square was significant, and we calculated the standardized residuals. They were 1.57, 3.35, 0.22, 2.91 minus sign, 2.24 minus sign. This is yesterday's work. Yeah. Yesterday we did it. But yesterday what we did not do, and which we are doing today, is that whenever there are more than 2 cases, this is one way with the degree of freedom greater than 1. Degree of freedom here is 4. Okay. So we are conducting 5 tests. 5 tests because there are 5 categories, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So FO minus FE. So yesterday we interpreted that this is significant, this is significant, and this is significant. But we did not give a thought to alpha inflation. So now we know what is alpha inflation, and now we know how to control this alpha inflation. So we must have yesterday done this, but because I did not introduce this concept deliberately, no, therefore today we will be doing it. So yesterday we compared this with 1.96 or 2.58. This is less than, this is greater than 2.58. No. So this does not give you p-value. Now how to find p-value? We can very simply, in a simple manner, we can find out p-values using the normal table. P-values, this is Z score, and from this Z score we can find out p-value. Let me show you how. Z score is 1.57. Okay, so look at 1.57. This is Z value, first column. Second column is area between mean and Z. Third column is area beyond Z. Beyond Z means on one side. So let us refer to the Z value of 1.57. So this is 1.57 here. And this area in one tail is 0.0582. So in both the tails, the area is double of it. So if you multiply it with by 2, so 2 to the 4, 2 8 the 16, 1 17, then the value is this much, 0.1164. This is two-tailed value, p-value. Similarly, let us take one more example, 3.35. Okay, so I go back to this table. Let us check 3.35. 3.35. Here it is 3.35. The area in one tail is 0.0004. So area in both tails is multiplied by 2. So it is 0.0008. So this is 0.00. Okay. Yeah, here 0.0008. Okay. Similarly, we can have the value for these three cells. 0.22, minus 2.91, minus 2.2, minus plus does not make any difference. 2. You check 2.91, the value will be half of it, 0.0018 multiplied by 2. So these are the p-values. Now multiply each of these p-value with 5. Why? Because we are conducting 5 tests. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 for the 20, 5 6 the 30, 32, 3, 5 1 the 5, 3, 8, 5 1 the 5.52. These are the adjusted p-value. Okay, now we can interpret them, and we find now that this is greater than 0.05, less than 0.01, greater than 0.05, less than 0.05, and this is greater than 0.05. So less than, only these two less than relationship, they are significant. See, this is significant, this is significant, but this one is not significant. So if you interpret on the basis of, okay, the unadjusted standardized residual, then this would have been significant result. And yesterday we saw that this test worked in favor of social science, okay, but against vocational and other stream students. But now we must modify our inference. We will say that social science students are benefited by this admission criteria, and vocational, no, this criteria works against vocational branch students. There is no difference for the other stream students, no significant difference. So this is how we are saved of making this one unwise or invalid inference. So this is the beauty of making this Bonferroni adjustment. Okay. Now it is time to come to the effect size. Effect size, as we saw yesterday, is effect size for chi-square from cross tabulation is Cramer's B, okay, which is measure of association. Now this Cramer's B, we saw it yesterday also, is chi-square divided by t into n, where t was smaller of just rows or r minus 1 or c minus 1. R being the row, C being the column. Now refer to diet related 3 into 3 cost tabulation. So effect size will be, in this particular example, diet problem, the value of chi-square was 24.877 and the value of n was 134. Value of t is 3 minus 1, smaller of 3 minus 1 and 3 minus 1, that is 2. So if you simplify 24.877 divided by 268, this will be 0.093 under root or 0.305. But this can also be done by SPSS, Cramer's V. I will tell you how. This is 0.305. But let us see how do you interpret it. 5 we will not be using. 5 we will not be using because it is not used in cross tabulation. It is used in one way or 2 by 2. One way or 2 by 2 cross tabulation. In 2 by 2 actually we can use this as this, both are same. Now interpretation is the effect size or degree of association between the diet of the parent and the offspring is 0.305, which is significant at 0. This is significant. Okay. And since Cramer's B reaches 0.3, it means the effect size is medium as per Cohen's guideline. Cohen says 0.1 is low, 0.3 is medium, and 0.5 is high. So there is a medium effect size for this problem. Now I come to how to calculate this using SPSS. So in this particular example, I think it is the same example. Right. So analyze descriptive cross tabulation. Parents died, offspring died, and statistics chi-square. And here we have phi and Cramer's B. So this option is available in cross tabulation, but not in one way. So phi and Cramer's B. So here we find this table. Yeah, symmetric measure, nominal binomial phi 0.431, Cramer's B 0.305. We have already seen how to interpret it. So we now come to the next topic, and that is next is the case of assumption violation. And this is the degree of freedom greater than 1, of course. So see this example. This is an example of data where we will find the assumption of minimum frequency is violated. Let us try to see what is this. This is on this left side you have category. So there are two attributes. One is category of the candidates and other is their position. Okay, this is category into university officer cross tabulation. And we are looking at registrar, deputy registrar, assistant registrar. These are the three cadres for university officers, and their category is open, SC, ST, OBC. And our question is whether are these two related or they are independent of each other. Now the data was collected for 82 subjects. Sample size is 82. Out of these 82, because registrars are only few, in university there is only one registrar. No, it has been taken from 12 universities, so there are only 12 registrars. But then there are more than in each university, sometimes there are 2 or 3. So number of deputy registrar is 24 and number of assistant registrar is 46. Now open category registrars are 16, SC registrars are 16, total ST are 18 and total OBC are 32. So these are 82 officers. So this is the data. Now let us see. This data has been entered in this file. And it has been entered in a traditional manner. Category officer. Here you will have 82 rows. You will find 82 rows. Is up to 82. Okay. There are 4 categories. One is unreserved. Okay. There are 4 categories. Category 1 open, 2 SC, 3 ST, 4 OBC. Then we have category for officers. 3 type of officer: registrar, deputy registrar, and assistant registrar. Okay. Now come to this and let us see whether the assumption of minimum frequency is violated or not. So we analyze descriptive statistics cross tabulation. Put category in this and officers in column and just click OK. Okay, we did not check chi-square. Okay. Descriptive cross tab statistics chi-square. Now look at this table. The first table is the same which we have in the shape of data, in the form of data, and second is chi-square test. So the value of chi-square is 14.267. But first we begin with the footnote. It says 6 cell 50% have expected frequency less than 5. The minimum expected count is 2.34. Now we want to know, as someone yesterday had curiosity, so we can have this expected frequency also. Cell, go to cell, expected frequency. Now we have expected frequency for is 2.3, less than 5, 4.7, less than 5, 2.3, 4.7, 2.6, and 4.7. These are the expected frequencies less than 5. So 50% of the frequencies 50% of the frequencies, expected frequencies are less than 5. Therefore, the assumption is violated because permitted number of cells which can have expected frequency less than 5 should be at the most 20%, but here it is 50%. Therefore, the assumption is violated. In such situation, we do not interpret chi-square, but we interpret the likelihood ratio. So this is likelihood ratio, and this is interpreted in the same way. And the significance value is 0.041, which is less than 0.05. Therefore, it is significant. Therefore, there is the hypothesis that there is no relationship between their category and their position is rejected. Now, further we will have to resort to residual analysis. Now, see, interpretation is table 16 and 17 reveal that percentage of cell having expected count less than 5 far exceeds 20%, as there are 6 such cells, 50%. Therefore, the assumption of minimum frequency does not hold good. Since degree of freedom is 6, it is appropriate to use likelihood ratio instead of chi-square. It can be seen from table 16 that the value of likelihood ratio is significant at 0.05 level of significance, because this is less than this alpha level. Thus, the null hypothesis, the university officer position is independent of category, is rejected. For studying the relationship further, post hoc process of residual will be resorted to. So, this is all for today. Thank you so much. Now, I invite participants to share their questions or queries. Madam Shadma, Dr. Gupta. Okay, let me check the chat if there is any question. No, no question. There is no question in the chat. Well, the session is now open for question, answer, observations.
Participants can write their questions in the chat box, or they can unmute themselves and ask as well.
They may write their question in the chat or
Anybody? In case you are not able to unmute yourself, please raise your hand so that you can be unmuted. Or type the questions in the chat box.
hello, is there any question? Hello, Sharma madam.
I think they will have questions when they do and practice it.
I don't think there is any question. So
yes,
we can close the session.
Okay, sir. So thank you so much, sir, for your enlightening session. And I am sure participants must have learned a lot of skills from you. And we look forward to see you again tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.